What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel if you haven't done so already. Before we get into this video, this is an initial impression review of a running shoe that I just got in. But before we dive into that, if you guys wouldn't mind, please clicking that subscribe button below. It just really helps the channel out. Also, click that bell for notifications on when new content drops. At the end of this video, if you really like this content, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the YouTube algorithms so we can reach a broader audience. And if you really found this video informative and you feel like there could be a person in your family, friends, your running groups that feel like they could benefit from this shoe, by all means, share this video with them. As always, this channel is kind of geared more towards heavier runners. I myself am a heavier runner. I'm anywhere from 200 to 220 pounds, depending on which training cycle I'm going through, if there's been any injuries or vacations or whatnot, so on and so forth. Because it's kind of hard to take a vacation and not have to run or just relax and like eat pretty much whatever you want. Probably not the most healthy things out there, but anyways, we'll get into that. We'll dive into that in a whole other video about dieting and whatnot. But today we're going to talk about this shoe, brand new for 2022. We're going to talk about the Saucony Ride 15. Again, brand new for 2022. Completely remodeled shoe from the previous version, the Ride 14, Ride 15. I've actually never ran in the Ride series before. This is my first go at the Ride series, and it's a shoe that actually intrigued me when it came out. I saw some of the stats and features for it, and I said, you know what, I would be very interested in running in this shoe. So I went ahead and got this shoe, and they have some really awesome colorways, by the way. I mean, they got a ton of different colors for this shoe. I just happened to do this. I believe it's called Campfire Orange, and almost like, I can't remember what they called the midsole color, but I call it Toasted Marshmallow because it kind of looks like a toasted marshmallow. And some of the other design elements on it are just really, really cool. Saucony really doing a great job designing these shoes. So we'll get into the stats and features first. We got 27 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. We got 35 in the heel for an 8 millimeter offset from heel to toe. It is running Power Run midsole foam, as you can see right there. It's a Power Run on it. Now, the Power Run, supposedly, according to Saucony, has been reformulated to be softer and more energetic than the previous versions of the Power Run midsole. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the video about if there is really a difference in the material. We got an engineered mesh upper here, and we'll get into that. And you also have some high abrasion outsole rubber here. Not a whole lot of rubber on here. Now, this shoe, compared to the Ride 14, it lost just about an ounce of weight, which is really, really good. Anytime you can lose weight on a running shoe, especially a daily trainer, because a lot of daily trainers have tended to go in that heavier direction with each iteration. And so it's nice to see companies finally coming out with like lighter versions of their daily trainers. So we're seeing that across the board. Asics, Nike, they're all kind of doing the same thing. But Saucony coming out early 2020 with this particular shoe. Price point, $140, and I'll give you my opinion on that in the end. Is it worth it? You'll see. So let's just dive into the upper first. How does it, how does the upper feel? So one thing that I really like about this upper, it actually reminds me quite a bit of this shoe right here, the Reebok Float Ride Energy 3, as far as the upper is concerned. It's definitely a better quality material. Like the upper in the, as you can see, I like orange shoes, but the upper material in the Reebok, it was super breathable, but it's kind of like this, I don't know, it feels kind of cheap and scratchy kind of material. This doesn't. This feels very soft. It's very nice. As you can see, it's very, very flexible material in over the top of your foot. It's rather kind of flimsy in a way, which almost kind of feels like a racer type of shoe. The nice thing about it is dual layered engineered mesh upper, but it's not like some of the other uppers where they have like a booty like material inside that's like a very nice and smooth, but it's not very breathable. So it shows porous on the outside, but it's not very breathable because of that underlying sock liner. This, on the other hand, is like a jersey material where it's got, you know, those porous holes even on the second layer, which is really, really nice, especially here in Florida. It's really hot this time of year, and it's just going to get hotter. So it's really nice to have that breathability. You can definitely tell this is a very breathable upper. And the toe box, very accommodating, have a lot of room for my toes to spread out, and also some wiggle room there as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying the way this upper kind of fits. And then going over into the lacing system, it's got these nice flat laces. I like these flat laces. Like they lay on top of the foot really, really well, as long as they don't get twisted. But they lay on top of the foot really well, and they provide a really good lockdown. I really like that. It is a gusseted tongue, by the way. I think a lot of people like a gusseted tongue. This definitely has gusseted tongue. Tongue doesn't move around at all, which, you know, it's a tribute to the gusseting there. It is a padded tongue. It's a pretty padded tongue. It's not super plush. It's not as plush as like the Nike Pegasus 38 or some of the other shoes, but it's got a nice padding to it. For me, and this is just the only complaint that I would have, is this, like, I would almost prefer just the top section of the tongue having the padding, and then the lower section be more of that like mesh material, just because it, like, I would like to have a little bit more breathability just in this lower like lacing system. But I get why they did it, because you need some protection from the laces so it doesn't, you know, kind of cut into your foot and cause some, you know, tendon issues. So I get why they did it, but just me, more breathability is always a good thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a good tongue. Lays on top of the foot really well. It's super comfortable. You also have these little lace like loop things right here, these little straps, and these actually attach down both on the medial and lateral sides of the midfoot area, and they just provide just a little bit of extra lockdown closer to the top of the eyelet chain. Kind of reminds me, pulling out shoes of his, kind of reminds me of the React Miler. How the React Miler has the little lace tab things, and they attach kind of the same way down on the medial and lateral sides of the shoe. So it kind of reminds me of that, almost like Saucony on this shoe is kind of taking playbooks of like other shoes and kind of throwing it together, and it's actually working really well. The collar is nicely padded. It's not overly padded. It's not super plush. But it's definitely not like, you know, super, it kind of reminds me of the Float Ride Energy. Like, it has almost the same amount of padding as what's in the Float Ride Energy, which is a good thing, because I really enjoyed the Float Ride Energy 3. Really nice heel pocket right here, and it's a stout heel, oh God, you can't even move that. Really stout heel counter back here. So really, really good stability in this shoe, even though it is a neutral daily trainer. We'll go into that in a second. Really enjoying the upper on this. Probably one of the best fitting uppers that I've ran in a long time. You know, and I know I raved about some of the other shoes, the Float Ride Energy being one of them. And this is definitely up there as far as one of like as far as daily trainers are concerned. It's probably one of the best uppers out there. It's just super comfortable, great lockdown. The width of the toe box is really nice. Got, you know, volume in that toe box as well. Again, really good lockdown, no heel slippage whatsoever. It's just a very good shoe, and little touches too, like this elastic pull tab on the back, which is kind of nice. I actually kind of like that, but I'm really enjoying the upper on this shoe in my initial miles on this shoe. So yeah, the upper is really, really good. Probably one of my favorite uppers so far. Out of all of the daily trainers that I've ran in, this is probably up there, top 2 or 3, I would say. Going on to the midsole now, I've done quite a few different runs in this shoe already. I did, you know, right out of the box, I did some just daily miles. You know, it was like 3 or 4 you know, just regular daily type of miles. Then I came back the next day and did some interval type workout. I did a fartlek where I did, you know, you had to jump from, you know, a recovery pace to 5K pace in the shoe. And I also, today I took it out on a longer run. I'm still working my base back up, coming back from an injury. So doing 6.5 mile run, longer run in this shoe today at an easy pace to kind of get all the different ranges of what the shoe can kind of do, and pleased to report some good things out of this. So the Power Run midsole foam, they said they reformulated this to be softer than other versions of Power Run. So kind of taking a play out of Nike's book with the React foam, because none of the React shoes perform the same way. Some are too soft, some are a little bit firmer, some are more responsive, some are a little bit dead. So Nike's React foam formulation is all over the place. So it's almost kind of like taking a playbook out of Nike's, or taking a page out of Nike's playbook with this midsole foam. So is it softer? Yes, it is softer than other versions of Power Run. So if I compare this to my other shoe that runs Power Run, which is the Endorphin Shift, this is definitely a softer shoe than the Endorphin Shift, even though the Endorphin Shift has a much higher stack height than this shoe. So is it softer? Yes, but is it softer than some of the other midsole foams that are out there on the market? No. Is it as soft as Flight Foam Blast? No. Is it as soft as Nitro? No. Is it as soft as some variations of React foam? No. But is it softer than or the original forms of Power Run? Yes, it is. So how did it, how did it feel? Well, let's talk about some of the tooling here first. So one of the things that I like, and if you can look at the shoe, you can see how the midsole foam actually protrudes out on each side here in the forefoot. Also in the heel, you can see it actually kind of sticks out on the medial side a little bit. And on the lateral side, not as much, but it's still kind of there. It's a very stable ride for a neutral daily trainer. And just to kind of give you, now it's loosened up a little bit because of the mileage that I put in this. So it does twist a little bit, okay? Not as much as some of the other shoes like the Puma, the Velocity Nitro 2. It doesn't twist as much as that, but it does have some twist to it. But because of that wide landing base, it's a very stable ride to run in, which has been really nice. Also having that midsole foam be a little bit on the firmer side, it's also a very stable ride. And as a heavier runner, I actually appreciate that because, no offense to other runners here on YouTube, but as a heavier runner, we tend to compress firmer foams a little bit more than a lighter runner would. So a lighter runner might feel this foam and say, oh, it's too firm. But for a heavier runner, we could hop in this and be like, man, this is just right. This hits that Goldilocks, area where it's just right. Like it's not too firm, but it's not too soft. It just fits right in that perfect area as a daily trainer. And that's kind of how I feel about this shoe. So how did it perform on the different types of runs? Well, the daily mileage was perfect. I mean, it's just super comfortable. It just absorbed impacts really well, rolled through the strides, all the things that you would want in just a solid daily trainer shoe. When you picked up the pace, when I did that fartlek run in this shoe, when I picked up the pace to get to that 5K pace, is kind of when I started to notice that it's almost a little bit like, I don't want to say too soft, but I guess being that my body weight and hitting the ground as hard as I am, it did feel like I kind of sunk into the shoe a little bit, and it didn't provide that like pop and energy return that you would get out of some other daily trainers. So for example, and I'm gonna pull the Nike Pegasus out because I'm gonna be showing this here in a little bit, but the Nike Pegasus, because of that air zoom unit in the forefoot, it provides a really nice like pop when you compress that airbag, and then it releases that energy to give you that boost forward. But this shoe doesn't have any kind of facilitating things that would do that. So it's just midsole foam that it's relying on. And it does compress really well. It absorbs impacts really well, but it doesn't give any type of like bounce or energy return like what you get out of some of the other foams. So at the higher paces where you're trying to push and give it more effort, it's kind of where it falls on its face. Now, at 10K efforts, at half marathon efforts, at full marathon efforts, for just an average running person, this will do just fine. It's not going to be too bad. But it's when you're trying to get at that like 5K race effort or that mile pace race effort, you know, that you're really trying to push, or you're doing like 400-meter repeats, you're probably going to want to go with something, especially if you're a heavier runner, probably going to want to go with something that's a little bit more responsive than this. This is a little bit on the softer end when you start pushing the limits. But as far as a daily training runner is concerned, just logging the miles, this is really good. As an easy day shoe, this is fantastic. For a long distance, easy day shoe, this is a fantastic running shoe. Which I would assume that would probably be what most of the people would use this shoe for anyways. If you're going to do a tempo day or something like that, you're going to have a shoe that's going to be a lot faster than that anyways, or than this anyways. But if you are just planning on having just one shoe, can it do it all? Yeah, I suppose it can. But just be aware that you are going to have kind of that sinking, kind of squishy feeling when you really start pushing the limits. And that's just my experience on what I felt. Other runners, you know, when you're out there running, you might experience something a little bit different. But overall, I actually really enjoy the ride of this shoe. As just a daily trainer, long distance runner, easy day shoe, this is fantastic. Yeah, so that's kind of that. And then we'll kind of go into the outsole, because it's kind of outsole and midsole here. The outsole, as you can see, not a whole lot of rubber on the outside of this shoe compared to previous versions of the Ride series. Now, is the shoe going to last as long as some of those older versions of the Ride? Probably not. If I had to take a guess, probably 400, 450 miles out of this shoe. That's playing it on the conservative end. I could see 500 out of this shoe, so it's really not as bad, just because I know that the exposed EVA, Power Run exposed EVA, is pretty resilient. So I'm really not concerned about it that much. But having this outsole rubber in the areas that it is definitely going to increase its wear protection. Some other things that I wanted to just kind of point out on this is, and it's hard to see in the video, but the outsole rubber actually protrudes out of the midsole foam a little bit more on the lateral side than it does on the medial side. It's almost recessed on the medial side to be with the midsole foam, where the lateral side, and the biggest representation is in the heel. You can actually see where this strip of rubber is recessed to be flush with the midsole foam, but on the lateral edge, it's actually raised above the midsole foam, and that actually continues on the whole lateral side of the shoe. The reason why Saucony did this is because when they did their studying on most runners, is when they land, you're landing kind of in a supinated position. So you land, you impact the ground, the shoe straightens out, and then you'll either go into a pronation or a more neutral, normal type of toe off. But if you are a supinator, or under pronation runner, and I kind of fall into that category, this is an excellent shoe. This shoe and really the Asics Nova Blast 1 were perfect for me because I do supinate. And it feels like it kind of, like having that outsole rubber edge kind of helps straighten my foot out and get me more into that neutral position. So I do get more on my big toe like I'm supposed to. So that is something that I wanted to point out. But as far as the outsole is concerned, the midsole, you can see how the midsole is has this cutout right along the lateral side of the foot, going to this really nice decoupled groove right here in the center. That's supposed to help provide a little bit of like a bounce, shock absorption, bounce, a little bit of energy return there. A lot of shoe companies have been doing is adding this decoupled groove, and you can actually thank Nike for coming out with that, because on the Pegasus, since I think the 33 and 34 model, it might even be before that, they started putting decoupled grooves and doing the groove that runs down the lateral side to the heel area. So this is something that Nike's been doing for quite some time, and a lot of other shoe companies are starting to do the same thing. So here on the Pegasus 38, you can see decoupled groove. that runs down the lateral side and into a bigger cut decoupled groove here in the center of the heel area. Now, another little trick that Saucony kind of did, again, stealing from Nike's playbook here, that lateral edge where it protrudes out, it's hard, high abrasion rubber all throughout. I think it's XT900. Have to go back and check and make sure. But again, kind of coming out of Nike's playbook here, Nike on the lateral edge here puts a high abrasion rubber where their tackier rubber is kind of this blue right here. The high abrasion rubber runs on the lateral edge. So again, if you land on the outside, it's there to kind of take the brunt of that impact, to take those forces and kind of help straighten your foot out. So again, if you supinate, the Pegasus is a good shoe for that supinate as well. And you know, dare I say it, but I mean, here's the React Miler. Look, decoupled groove that runs right down the side into the center here. Nike's been doing decoupled grooves like this for a long time. Saucony's kind of taken a little bit of their playbook here, and it's not a bad thing. You know, you have to learn from other companies and what works for them, and Saucony's kind of doing the same thing. But the good thing is they made this shoe really light, so the turnover is really nice. It's easy on your feet. If you go for a long run, it doesn't feel heavy and bogged down later on in the miles. It's got some really good grip. I wouldn't say that it's like, you know, super grippy if you go on like wet grass or something, but it does have some good grip over some gravelly parts of the roadways that I ran. It seems pretty durable. I mean, the mile is 15 miles that I've put in already, and yeah, you're already starting to see some, because my roads are like sandpaper, but you're already seeing a little bit of wear in that midsole, the exposed midsole foam, but overall it's really not too bad for the mileage that I'm putting on it. Overall, I'm really impressed with this shoe. It runs really well. I would definitely say daily trainer, long run, easy day shoe for sure. Definitely could do some slight pick up the pace with it. But overall, I'm very impressed with this shoe. It has definitely become one of my go-to shoes right out of the box. Something that I couldn't say about some of the other shoes that I've ran in. But this is definitely one of my favorite shoes so far, and I'm looking forward to just continuing to run in this thing. It's absolutely fantastic. So that's my initial kind of impression on the Saucony Ride 15. Again, this is just coming from me as a little bit heavier of a runner. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give this a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please click the subscribe button. It just helps the channel out for us to reach a broader audience. And again, for heavier runners out there, I want to be a channel where we can share some of our information. So if you do have this shoe as a heavier runner, you know, there is no weight limit here. You know, there's no such thing as being too high, no such thing as being too low, but there are a lot of people that are heavier runners. I want to hear your experiences in some of these shoes in the comment section below. So please, if you guys don't mind, going and leaving some comments in the section below for the rest of us heavier runners to kind of get an idea of what these shoes are going to perform like, or training ideas. We'll do more videos on that here in the future, but thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. And as always, enjoy the run.